Welcome back, Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics Last 9 Classics. This is episode number 247 and the 180 double shot, okay? First up, it's a trade probably you haven't seen in a while. Classic G.I. Joe. This is volume 14. And this collects issues 135, 145. Now, I don't know why I'm skipping around for the... You're probably thinking that why am I skipping around? Because I did like the first 2 volumes. I think I did another volume in like the 13th and 15th volume. One is like somewhere in the middle. Now, the series is very heavily serialized. Now, at some point, I'm not sure when this has happened because this whole book, the whole title was a lie. It doesn't even feature the G.I. Joe team. It's just Snake Eyes, Ninja Force, and Scarlet are in these issues. As a matter of fact, when you open it up, what do you see? G.I. Joe, starring Snake Eyes and Ninja Force. Now, I haven't got to the point when that happened. The issues themselves are written to be really good, and of course, Destro is back to his silver mask look, which I'm very happy they finally got back to that look. Cobra Commander still looks weird in his post-issue 100 look. Hawk shows up in here briefly. But quite possibly the best thing about this particular trade is the 4-issue crossover with Transformers Generation 2. As a matter of fact, on the cover you can clearly see Cobra Commander and Megatron. Now, this cover is kind of a lie because, for one thing, when Megatron first shows up, the guy is falling apart, and Cobra Commander looks nothing like this at all. Like, if you want a clear look at exactly what Cobra Commander looks like in here. Let's see here. I think there's a page in here that does show what Cobra Commander looks like. Like, this guy here? Yeah, that's Storm Shadow. I am not kidding about that. That is Storm Shadow. I think, where's a good picture? I want a good frontal view of, here we go. This is Cobra Commander. Now, I am not sure what happened because I haven't read those issues yet. Yeah, I'm reading some stuff that happened later on. But it's still written well. Yes, the writing is still good, but, yeah. But, now, the crossover with the Transformers and the G.I. Joe, unofficially starts with, let's see here. What issue number is this? This is issue number, sorry about this, trying to find the issue number. This is issue number 138, when the issue ends seeing Megatron looking like this. Yeah, the guy is falling apart. And so, he makes a deal with, now that's where it unofficially starts. It starts at the ending of 138 and continues into 139 and ends with issue 144. And of course you have Megatron. Now here's a much better view of what Megatron looks like. The guy is like falling apart after recent battles in the Generation 2 comic. Yeah, I have read that comic. It's okay. It's not as good as the original Transformers comic, but it's still pretty decent what it was. Megatron is falling apart, so he attacks this headquarters of Cobra, and he stops and says he'll give him, like, here's something interesting. He makes a deal with them. If they repair him, he'll call off the attack for this. Give him a little look, and he'll give him the Ark. As in the ship that brought the Autobots to Earth. So, they rebuild him. Yep. So they just give him, like let's say a makeover. And if you want to know what the Generation 2 Megatron looks like, here he is. Not much change. Yeah, they changed the color scheme, but here's something unique, though, about him. Megatron transforms into a tank. Yeah, he transforms to a tank. which is kind of something that the I think the Robots in Disguise and the Unicron trilogy, that's what he does. He transforms into a tank. And this is a great crossover. Heck, during this crossover, Dr. Mindbender comes back after he'd been killed off a few years prior to issue 100. And of course, toward the end of the crossover, finally the Autobots finally show up. Yeah, at the end of, I would say probably like the issue 140, finally have the Autobots showing up. Yeah. And it is a great crossover. Yeah, it is an awesome looking crossover. Now, if you wonder what Scarlet looks like, she doesn't wear her G.I. Joe outfit. She dresses like this. I am not kidding about this. I do not know why she dresses like that for what she does. Heck, in this storyline, she joins Cobra. Briefly. And it's a great storyline. Actually, it wraps up with issue, I thought it was wrapped with 44. It wraps up with issue 142. But that's a great crossover. It's a great follow-up to the original crossover they had back in the 80s. But this is still good. The last couple of issues are just okay. But I do recommend this, but I do recommend getting the first trade to understand what the heck is going on, like, or even the first trade onwards. So I give this book a 8.5 out of 10. I was kind of confused at some points, so I haven't got to those particular points when the character changed costumes, or the fact that most of the G.I. Joe cast is dropped in the book because Snake Eyes is popular. This one is a little better. All New X-Men, Inevitable, Volume 1, Ghost of Cyclops. Now I get the reason why they put the name Inevitable on the book, because there already was an All New X-Men Volume 1. So they put the subtitle Inevitable on the book, and it would differentiate. As a matter of fact, if, like the first trade collecting issues, the first I think the first 4 or 6 issues for Uncanny X-Men, it's known as Uncanny X-Men Superior, and for Extraordinary X-Men, it's just a Volume 1, but his All New X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, the ones that they launched for the All New One Different Marvel Now initiative, they decided to do for the trade, put a subtitle on it. But this is the first trade for collecting stuff as part of the All New All Different Marvel Now initiative. Now this collects the first 6 issues of this volume, so you can kind of see this as basically issues 42 to 47 of All New X-Men. Now, there are 2 stories in here. One is the obvious Ghost of Cyclops story. The other one is basically just the all-new X-Men, the X-Men versus the Blob. Yeah, the Blob. And Toe shows up in the story, too, setting up the 3rd story arc of this volume. Now, here's something interesting, though, about this. There are 2 story arcs in here, and they're both 3 issues long. This is one thing you gotta love about All New X-Men, and the fact that the Marvel Now initiative actually is doing this. Actually, I think it's like maybe 2 books I can think of, basically, where the books. Now, generally, almost all the storylines for the story arcs tend to last about 3 to 5 issues apiece. Which, okay, I guess Marvel is learning because people are kind of tired. People kind of burnt out of seeing 6-issue story arc, 6-issue story arc, 6-issue story arc. I think the only one that still has is maybe All New Wolverine, and I think it's one of the book. I don't remember which one it was. Despite the fact this does collect 6 issues, but it's 2 3-issue story arcs. But it's really well connected, and it's kind of like the Stan Lee Jack Kirby run, kind of brought into modern day a bit. But the first story arc is simply just people dealing with the aftermath of what happened with Secret Wars. Like, apparently they revealed that Cyclops was the president of Cyclops was killed. And heck, almost 12 issues in for a lot of these books, and they still have not explained how exactly, like, they haven't shown that happening. I mean, as far as this revealed in Extra X-Men, he was killed by the Inhumans. Yep. Now the cast of this book is very interesting. You have past Angel, past Cyclops, past Iceman, past Beast. There's also X-23, who's the current Wolverine, Kid Apocalypse, and what's her name? ID Okano. I thought she was a new character, but I completely forgot the fact she's not a new character. Yeah, I have all the characters of the cast of this book. Now, the 4 past X-Men, they're original to the previous line of the book, so they're kind of new. X-23, as of right now, I think she's about 15, 16 years old by now. The character's been around in comics for maybe about a decade. Okay, Apocalypse was basically, he's a creation of Rick Remender. But ID first showed up in the last official arc that Matt Fraction did on the Kenny X-Men during the Birth of Generation Hope storyline, which is also known as the Five Lights. So, essentially, she is not an original character for this storyline. I mean, technically, there is no really... The only new characters that are in this particular book is just the Ghost of Cyclops characters. Everybody else is just long-time running characters. And I like the fact that... I almost forgot the creative team. The creative team is probably one of the most unusual pairings that anybody's ever heard of. Dennis Hopeless and Mark Bagley. Yeah, Mark Bagley, the guy who used to draw Ultimate Spider-Man in several other books. I mean, I think the last book he drew prior to the start of this book was when he was drawing a Hulk. And Gary Duggan was on the writing for that book. And that book was awesome. But this book is awesome as well. It's a great storyline. Now, this book kind of suffers a bit toward the very end, like in the end of the first story arc, that the artwork kind of feels a little bit rushed in a way. A little bit. It's not quite obvious. Now, there is a reason for that. The reason is that the book is coming out twice a month, and Mark Bagley is the only artist in the book. Now, DC has compensated for something like that by having multiple artists on books in order to compensate for them to come out twice a month. Marvel, on the other hand, doesn't bother with multiple artists in books. This is the books now. Does the second arc story feel like filler? No, it doesn't. Just continues right where the previous arc left off. Now, as for the Wolverine series, I have no idea when that's placed, but I like the fact that the continuity is all still there. I love new costumes. Heck, I love Cyclops stuff. It reminds me very heavily. I mean, it kind of looks. It looks like it's the same color scheme. It looks kind of very similar to that of the Jim Lee costume that Cyclops had in the early 90s. But everyone else got new costumes. I mean, the costumes look great. I mean, the cast of characters only like, what, 4... But it's only 7 characters. And Hopeless writes them really well. Now, do I think they should add a little more characters to this? Maybe. But I get the reason why that he was picked these characters, because a lot of the really big X-Men characters are confined to the pages of books like Uncanny X-Men, Extra X. So I figured, okay, we're keeping the past X-Men around, so... But Jean Grey's in the Extra X-Men now, so they gotta fill up these ranks. They kind of just have 5 characters. Oh, and I love how on the cover you see Cyclops putting X on what looks like the cover for the first issue of Uncanny X-Men. Yeah. Or at least one of the X-Men covers with Magneto on it. But Magneto's the head of the X-Men cast. But this one, Cyclops is not the leader of this particular group. No, I think it's Beast. Yeah, Beast is the leader, which is a bit unusual. But let me show you some artwork. Yeah, here's the artwork by Mark Bagley. Now, this book is really good. And I highly recommend people who are curious about trying some X-Men titles, and I do recommend reading the previous volume of titles, the previous trades, which is about the previous volume, which is collected in 7 trades. You can kind of count this as volume 8 in some ways. So I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. It is just really, really good, and it's also good seeing the Blob again. And next trade, X-Men vs. Toad. All right. Stay tuned for the next episode, which will be episode 148 and Doubleshot number 181. Until then, see you there. Bye.